Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thanks for being here. My name is Ari Dosset. You can call me Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. All right, please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. Don't forget, you can donate in the links below. And you can also check my notes on Amazon. If you wish to have a one-on-one consultation, please check check the description below with the fees and instructions. Thank you very much. All right. Can you all hear me clearly? Let me know in the live chat, please. Please let me know. Let me know if you all can hear me clearly. Thank you very much. Let me know. God is good. You know what? Let me change the settings for a moment. You can hear me better now? Okay. That should be better. Okay. This is much better. Okay, look. In this live stream, I'm going to start with a parable. Because the topic that I'm about to explain now is a bit complex, and I want to break it down in easy pieces for you to understand it. So, okay, let's start. You have a woman called Jenny. Okay, she's 20 years young, and she visits. Um, her uncle in Texas. They just came from a funeral where they buried their great grandmother. Their great grandmother passed away age 101. Their grandmother, at least from the mother's side, passed away a while ago. And her mom never spoke really about her own mom. So her mother never, so Jenny's mom never spoke about her grandmother often. But anyway, they buried her great grandma, and after the funeral, she visits an uncle in Texas, which is quite nearby. And then, while talking to her uncle, she mentioned um, a village she often visited as a child. And Uncle asked her, Jenny, what village are you talking about? It's called, I'm going to make up a name right now, Townsville. Yeah, Townsville. It was a very small village. I often went there after school to play with some friends. And in my teenage years, I visited a few times with some fellow people from high school. And when she said that, the face of her uncle became stiff. She could not figure out whether her uncle was annoyed, upset, or just scared. So she stopped talking about the village altogether. Then, after a visit to her uncle, she got into a car and she drove to her hometown where she grew up. And she knew Townsville was quite close to her hometown. She could still remember the route she took with her bicycle. So now, as a grown woman with her car, she went down that direction. But to her surprise, she couldn't find Townsville anywhere. She drove 5 times the same route and she couldn't find it. So she looked on the map. There was no such place called Townsville on Google Maps. Neither Bing Maps. So she thought, hey, what the heck is this? So she passed by one of the gas stations and asked the individual for the place called Townsville. And the individual had never heard of it. The place doesn't even exist. And she asked a few people in town about the place, and nobody knew about it. They thought she was crazy. And when she went to a McDonald's to eat. Not very healthy, but she went there to eat something. And at the McDonald's, she spoke to a local over there. She never met this individual before. And because she left her hometown when she was 15, because her parents moved away. So it was 5 years ago by now, not that long, but she didn't know who this individual was. And she talked about Townsville. An individual looked at her and said, "Oh, you mean that demolished village?" And she asked, "What demolished village?" And the individual asked her, "Do you have pictures of the place?" I said, "Yeah, here it is." And she showed some pictures on a mobile phone that she saved in a digital cloud of the place called Townsville. And then the individual told her, "Young lady, please forget about it, please." So, long story short, Jenny goes to the local library, look at old maps. And what do you know? On old maps, Townsville is there. But the last map Townsville was on was a map from the 1980s. And she thought, hold on a minute. Well, what goes on over here? Mm, I mean, she could remember that just a couple of years ago she was still there. And the place where Townsville was now, it was it was a factory that's there right now. The whole village disappeared, and now there was this big factory over there that produced cars. So she made some phone calls to ask about the factory. And when she made some phone calls to ask when the factory was established over there, people said, "Oh, the factory was established in the year 2019." But here's the strange thing: 2019 was the year that she left her hometown, and she could remember very well there was no factory there at the time. And then she goes into the records and she finds out the factory is only 2 years old. So why people say the factory was built 2019 was only 2 years old? I mean, she could not figure out why Armstrong is lying about it. Why computers that made this town existed? And she thought, okay, what the heck goes on over here? So she went back home. She stayed for over a week in her hometown figuring out this mystery about Townsville. She even made some phone calls to some of her childhood friends about the place. And a lot of her childhood friends were very vague, like they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't deny Townsville, but also didn't confirm that it actually existed. At some point, Jen thought she was actually losing her mind. Then she spoke to one of her colleagues at work. And her colleague at work told her, "Jenny, I know what goes on." And she said, "Huh? How do you know what goes on? We just met like 2 weeks ago. You're new over here." And he said, "Jenny, I remember Townsville too." And she asked how. And he is a male told her, "Listen, you're 20, I'm 30. I used to live in Townsville myself. That place, it had some scandals, some big scandals over there, including including uh, a politician who had a out of wedlock son that he didn't want to recognize. And the fact he abandoned his fiancee when she became pregnant and then start a family later on, act like he didn't have a son. When that came out, people wanted to bury it because nearby in the city where he grew up, the reputation of that city would go down. And because nobody wanted to have their own cities, reputation going down, they thought, okay, this politician has an out of wedlock son. This out of wedlock son suffered a lot of harm in life because of the neglect of his father, and this son is out there. And everyone around that young man knows the truth. And it's just a matter of time for the truth comes out and the reputation of the city goes down. We don't want to have a reputation going down. We lose investment, we lose tourism, and all of us go bankrupt over here. So, only thing I knew was that there were people telling us to leave Townsville as soon as possible because um, they're coming for the place. 5 years ago, um, one of my friends was heavily assaulted over there, and the public, in full rage, burned down the whole place. It was a big scandal, but as you know, the 2020 global health crisis happened. So yet, so it took away attention from the case. Eventually, when the truth resurfaced, the authorities thought, okay, we can't have this coming out. So Jenny asked, okay, but why did they burn down the whole town, the whole village? And the colleague told her, listen, that young man was just kind of your age. There was the illegitimate child of this politician from your hometown. I'm not going to mention his name. People wanted him dead. They wanted him dead, his mom dead, everyone around him dead. Even the place where he grew up and the place where he, that anything could remind anyone towards him. So Jenny asked, what happened to this young man? Well, he's been missing since 2019. The same year the public burned down that place. And people want to keep the scandal hidden. And that's why 2 years ago, out of the blue, they gave a permit, they gave a grant to some foreign company to establish a factory over there. Even though the location is not suitable for factory, they still want the factory over there than the ruins of that village. And it was then that Jenny understood why her uncle's face froze when she mentioned Townsville. Now she understood why her childhood friends also didn't want to talk about that village. Now she understood why. Even on Google Maps, the village wasn't there anymore because the village didn't exist anymore. It was burned to the ground. And it was affected now in its location. Now, in this case, there was a place that existed, a village. But the village became a reminder of something people wanted to forget. So as long as a village stood there with its history, the people nearby could not generate a false history and get away with it. So eventually people became so desperate, saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to burn all that whole place down. Then there's no proof nor evidence anymore. Well, let me tell you, what I just shared with you is a parable. That Townsville is just a fiction. It doesn't exist. There are places called like that on Earth, but this Townsville from Texas is just something I made up right now. Just like the whole parable. But the story is illustrating towards you. When the public has something to hide and they cannot make a false history to protect their own reputation, they will go into insanity mode and they will do things you wouldn't expect them to do. As a matter of fact, in the United States of America, there were towns predominantly inhabited by Judean Moors, or what they call black people, African Americans. They had their own towns that were demolished by racist mobs after some women from the European Americans went there and lied that they were raped or molested. Oscarville in Georgia is one of them. Now you have Lake Rainier over there. They built a dam and created a reservoir to hide the existence of Oscarville in Georgia. And that's why Lake Rainier in Georgia is haunted like that. You have a lot of such places in the United States of America. But anyway, we're not here to talk about these towns that were demolished by racists and all of that. I'm using it as an example over here. People in the world, the one thing they have all have in common, and the one thing that drives them is escapism. But escapism is neglectful. It causes harm. But nobody wants to deal with the harm of escapism. Everyone wants to escape, but nobody wants to deal with the consequence of the escape. So when people are escaping and now there are bad outcomes, they don't want to deal with the bad outcomes. Even though the bad outcomes because they're the ones escaping. So when the bad outcomes are in their face, they will go deny the bad outcomes. That's the first thing people do. When they can't deny the bad outcomes anymore because they're really in their face and affecting people, they're going to start acting like it's not to do with them. And they're going to look for other people to blame for why we have all these bad outcomes. People begin to create fake histories. A fake history is a story that's not entirely true. The story may be factual, but it's not true. For example, someone may say, well, the crime rate is low now in this city because police doing such a good job. And when you look at the crime rates, indeed the crime rates are low. That is true. But then you notice that there are a lot of people moving out of the neighborhood. So you think, well, wait a minute, they say the crime rate is low because police doing a good job. That if that is the case, it means this part of the city should be quite safe to live in then. Why so many people moving out? And then you find out the truth, and that is that they scaled down the police. They defunded the police in that area, scaled it down, and because of that, there wasn't there weren't many police officers to deal with the crime. So when that happened, a lot of people began to move out. And because a lot of people moved out, now criminals didn't have much to steal over there because a lot of people moved out. So it is true that the crime rate decreased. The crime rate are just the statistics. Thing is, crime remained the same, but it's the documentation of crime became less. So they look at the documentation and say, oh, crime has decreased. The police done a good job. It's factual that the crime rate, so the numbers have decreased, but also mean the actual crime has decreased. You see what I mean? So a false history is any narrative or any story that leaves out important parts. And because it leaves out important parts, you get the wrong idea of what happened. That's a false history. And false histories are common in the world. You have whole countries that are based on false histories. Now, what is the problem with having false histories? A false history is designed to cover up violence done by a specific generation. So, a crime was committed by a large group of people. And this crime caused an imbalance in the earth. Now, often the people that committed the crime, they all passed away by now. But the imbalance in the human community remained. And what should happen is that the later generations, like the children, grandchildren of the perpetrators, they have to admit what their parents or grandparents did, renounce what happened, and say, we're going to fix this. We cannot change the past. We can't bring back everyone to life. We can't fix all the consequences. No, but we're going to be better and safer people and operating justice. That's what should happen. If this happens, now balance is restored in the earth. Because when there is an imbalance in the earth caused by public violence can be that a big portion of the public actually did the violence physically, like a lynching or whatever, but it could also be that there were perpetrators roaming around doing all the crime and the public just allowed them to do it. They allowed it all of it to happen. Whether it's child abuse or serial killers going around killing people. When the public commits a crime, it's first of all very hard to deal with it because you have so many people allowing something bad to happen, or so many people in on it. How are you going to arrest all of them, put them in jail? It's not possible. What should happen is that whatever happened has to be admitted, acknowledged, and renounced. When that does not happen, that public violence itself, the negativity that came from it, will linger around. When that crime happened, or when the crime was ongoing, the crime, where it was that there was a lot of child abuse in the community, people just allowed child abuse to happen. They didn't deal with the parents. Or where there was a serial killer that had free reign killing people. Or where there was an actual lynching, like they burned out the whole town or whatever. When that crime happened, or when the crime was ongoing, it triggered evil spirits. It invited demons to be active. So, if the crime is not renounced by the later generations are actually collectively consenting to the demons roaming around. Let's say now, you had a great grandfather that used to be part of a gang, and they molested some foreigners that visited the area. And back then in the day, um, everyone in town knew what was going on, but they didn't want to be involved. Now, your great grandfather, he passed away a long time ago. The victims moved on with life and they passed away too. The people that were there in the town were allowed to have it also passed away. But that whole situation, it invoked evil spirits to become active. Let's say now the generation after that, I mean your grandparents, decided they don't want to deal with this. They don't want to be bothered by what happened before. They just want to live their life. By them not admitting nor acknowledging the crime that happened a generation before them, they now are operating in a fairy tale. They now have generated a false history in which they don't have to process the past. And because your grandparents and the people during their life that do not process what happened, it turned into iniquity. And when you look at your hometown today, you notice that there's a lot of dysfunction, chronic dysfunction that just won't be resolved in that area. All that chronic dysfunction is demonic activity that affects human beings over there. And why is all this demonic activity over there? Because these demons, these legions of demons, they received the collective consent to act over there. what happened? The demons had collective consent. Now, it's not that every human being that lives there right now literally agreed to the demons roaming around and causing harm. No. Just know, when you enter a place or a location and you pick up that something's off about the location, you now have the obligation to pray and fast about it. Then also do research to figure out what's off about this place. If you do that and you figure out what's wrong, you renounce whatever it is that's wrong. If it's something happened in the past, of course you can't do anything about it, but you renounce what's wrong, and by doing that, you now have shut down the opportunity for demons to operate in your life. So let me give an example. Let's say now you got a job at a business right now. Now, you go there to work daily, but you notice that eventually something's off about this workplace. You don't know what it is, but you feel like something's off. So then you pray about it, saying, Lord, please, show me what's wrong, what goes on. One day you talk about this business with some acquaintances of yours. They ask you, how many customers does the place have? And you tell them, well, sometimes the day's not many customers. And then they answer, how can they pay your wages then if they have no customers? So now you look into it and you realize this place might be a front for criminal activity. What you do now is you move away, you resign from the job, you move on. Later, when the police is doing an investigation, they can never even consider you a person of interest, because when you noticed something was off, you left. Even when it was a high probability, you had no proof at the time, but you had the high probabilities that maybe a front, you left. You did the right thing. But what if now you notice something is off, but you don't want to think about it because you don't want to be bothered? You think, man, I'm working here now. What happened before I was here, what was going on behind the scenes, I don't care. I'm not interested. I just want to come here, get paid, and live my life. Let's say now the place indeed is a front for criminality. Now you are part of the bad situation because you willfully get along with the situation, doesn't get up. So even if you're not aware it's a front for criminality, when later it all comes out, nobody's consider you innocent. The thing is, you're not innocent. Because the moment you know the thing was off, you should have looked into it. But the fact you didn't even care means that whatever was going on, you got along with it. So if you weren't aware how bad the situation was, you agreed to be part of the situation. And by doing that, you facilitate the bad situation also. So you now can be arrested and charged too. You can end up in prison too. Absolutely. Well, just like the same way it works spiritually. When you ignore your intuition, when you do not do your proper screening or due diligence about a situation or about people around you, you now are agreeing to the bad situation, whatever it may be that goes on. And once you do that, evil spirits have an excuse to be operative in your life. Now, we don't have the ability nor authority to give permission to demons to act in earth. We don't. All thing we can do as human beings is give opportunity for demons to operate in the earth. And us giving demons opportunity is the same as if we're giving consent to them. Whether it is that you have witches, warlocks, and wizards invoking demons during ceremonies, all of that, whether it's summoning demons, all of that, it can be directly, or it also can be indirectly through iniquity. Iniquity is normalized violence. So whenever there's normalized violence, whenever there's iniquity, you will always find demonic activity. And if you don't renounce that iniquity and stay out of that iniquity, you now also collectively are part of the collective consent for the demons to operate. What this has to do with false histories? Okay, imagine now you have an island in the Pacific, and anthropologists come there and say, wow, um, the people over here, their children, man, their children have so much freedom. They can even spend days or weeks at their relatives, and the parents are not worried. This place is so great. And other people were a bit more skeptical, say, hold on a minute, why are children often staying weeks away from their parents' house? What is this? When so other people look at it and realize, hold on a minute, domestic violence is quite big in this place. That's why often children walk away and stay at their relatives, because the parents are going after one another. So you, some people come there with a political agenda to cover up the fact that the population on the island is so dysfunctional. They take a fact, namely that children often stay weeks away from their parents' house and nobody bothers with it. They take that, leave everything out, and act like, wow, this place is so great. Children are safe almost everywhere. They can stay weeks away at their relatives, nobody bothers with it. But others will hear that they go, I mean, this sounds a bit weird. Why would people underage stay weeks away from their parents' house? How come this is so common? And then when you look deep, you realize, oh my God, this thing is not good. But what if now you hear this propaganda? Oh, this place is so great, man. Children have so much flexibility over here. They can stay from their parents' house for weeks. Nobody bothers. Family is willing to take them. Let's say you hear this propaganda and it sounds so good, but you do pick up, okay, this sounds very good, but wow. Instead of actually looking into it, you just go along with it. What happens now is that you are now bewitched by just believing the propaganda. You're now bewitched. You know why? Because you actually put a blindfold on spiritually. And because of that, you don't see actually what goes on. Is um, your perception can corrupt. Now you view that place as a wonderful place to be. And as a result, you begin to act like that and promote towards other people. So now, because you get along with the propaganda, you became part of the propaganda, and now demons can use you to lure people into bad situations. What if a place is not that great, but you keep claiming the place is so great? You now promote that place, triggering others to visit it. And the others will visit it after your recommendation, they'll end up in trouble. So demons now are using you as a portal to lure others into danger. You see how far this goes? So anytime there's a false history circulating out there, there is a there's a crime somewhere in history that's being covered up. That cover up led to an imbalance in the earth that became an iniquity. If you partake in that iniquity, you are agreeing with the demonic presence. Is this all clear to you all? Let me know in the live chat. Is this clear to you all? And here's another thing. You can be harassed and afflicted by demonic presence you never agreed to. Rashid, that's so unfair. I know it's unfair. Nevertheless, that's reality. If someone, if someone's a, if someone, um, let me say, if someone does a shower for a while and they walk around and they're stinking, that stench doesn't come from you, but you are affected by it though. Other people's actions or inaction do affect you, whether for good or for bad. The same it is when it comes to demonic activity. You can be demonically assaulted or demonically oppressed by something that someone else did. It isn't just when someone does direct spiritual warfare against you. A lot of us have been demonized or demonically oppressed by things we didn't do. Now, we should not develop a victim mentality because it's not the healthy thing. We should admit it and then figure out how to get rid of the demonic oppression. And let me tell you, you cannot be freed from a demonic oppression you participate in. Let me read that one more time. You cannot be freed from a demonic oppression you participate in. So if you are believing any false history of anything anywhere, now look, of course you don't know all things about history, about or every place and other people. I don't even expect you to. You just need to have an open and constructive mindset that you're willing to reflect and investigate history. That's what you need to have. If you have that, you get far ahead in life. You cannot believe a false history without that false history damaging your perception. Once your perception is damaged, you'll end up not seeing things clearly for what they are. You can end up making wrong conclusions and therefore making wrong decisions. And let me tell you one thing. Let's go back to the parable I gave at the beginning of this woman called Jenny, who often visited this town, this village called Townsville, but she had no idea that the place was burned to the ground and later replaced with a factory. She had no idea. What she also was not aware of was that place, that village she often visited in her childhood and early teens, she had no idea there was so much controversy with that place. And she was not aware of that. Others were. That's why others even want to talk about it. Now, in life, just like that Townsville parable I gave onto you, you have your own Townsville in your life. It may not be a village that's been burned to the ground by the masses to hide some illegitimate child for some politician or whatever. It doesn't have to be something like that. It could be, for example, that um, it could be that your parents or grandparents or your uncles or aunties or your family-in-law, that they're associated with some child abuse or some oppression that led to suicide, whatever. It could be there's some type of public crime they're associated with. And they're hiding this with a false history that it told you. And because you were raised not to mind other people's business and to respect people's privacy, that's why you behave yourself, because you don't want to be in conflict with other people and just believe what people told you. You only knew what people told you about them. So you don't want to be rude by asking too many questions and have people turn on you. That's why you just get along with information people tell you about themselves. So when people are quite private, you let them be private. I mean, it's their life, it's their privacy, it's their personal space, blah, blah, blah. And that is your problem. I'm not telling you to act like a police detective and interrogate them. I'm not telling you to be a stalker and stalk people all over the place to find out things about them. I'm not telling you to break the law and hack their social media or to put cameras in the house and all that crap. No. You don't have to do any of these extreme things. I'm just telling you, your problem is you think it's okay for people to be inconsistent and get away with it. Okay, we don't expect people to tell everything about themselves. Nobody does that. However, people have the right to know what they're dealing with. Where you notice that people are quite secretive, or what we call they're a private person, if there is no logical reason, if there's no reason that can be justified why they are like that, I'm telling you, they're hiding something. Whatever it is they're hiding, they're hiding it because they know if this comes out, it's going to have effect on them and those around them. That means whatever it is they're hiding, it still has effect. It still has effect, but the effect is not, you don't know it has effect, my guys, because you don't even know what it is. You think it's okay for people to lie to you. You think it's okay for people to do that towards you. Just not to be in conflict with other people, you think it's okay for people to lie to you and to be dishonest. Again, we don't expect people to share their Facebook, their Instagram, or their social media passwords, their address to everyone, their medical records. There's certain things you have to keep hidden about yourself for practical reasons. Things that are relevant, that matter, should be open for people to view. But in the day and age we're living right now, you even have the government and the courthouses enabling people to cover up scandals. It does work in keeping the public calm. However, the imbalance that's caused is still going to affect the population. You see what I mean now? Look, I'm not telling you to become so nosy that you become obsessed with what goes on with other people. No, absolutely not. I'm not telling you to become a gossiper, nor to, because that's close to become a slander, all that. No, I'm saying that, listen, people do have a right to hide sensitive information about themselves, especially if it's not certain that information can be handled well. Absolutely, data protection should be practiced, especially when it comes to medical records, customer data, whatever. However, people don't have the right at all to give a false testimony about themselves, because that means they just want to take advantage of you and other people. And when people do this, they often leave things out so that they appear better than they really are. And by doing that, they're incriminating other people. Look, if someone had the horrible past and they did horrible things, but they've repented, they became a better human being, they renounced everything, and they are now serving their Father, okay, then they still should be open about their past. They shouldn't be talking about it all the time instead of still living it, but they have to be open that they weren't always the best, but now they've atoned for it. They're better now. But for them to act like the past never existed, I'm sorry, that's delusional. They're lying now. You follow me? Truth being told, false histories are so common that often when people are suffering demonic activity, they think, oh, we can just cast out the evil spirits and it's all going to be fine. No. As long as you're participating in the iniquity, you are part of the demonic activity. You're just replacing demons and can make room for other demons to come in. This is the only thing you're doing because you're not renouncing nor detach yourself from iniquity. And again, I'm not telling you to become how do I say, how do you call it? I'm not telling you to become like a detective, taking matters in your own hands to figure out everyone's dark secrets. No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to do anything like that. I'm just telling you that, listen, people in the world, worldly people, opposite worldly people, they have skeletons in their closet. Just because someone's on good terms with you does not mean that individual is even safe to deal with. If that individual participates in iniquity, they can be on good terms with you, yeah. That doesn't take away they are participating in iniquity. And if they participate in iniquity, they're facilitating that harm to continue on the earth. So you being involved with them, you'll end up being harmed sooner or later. If they are facilitating harm to continue on the earth, whatever it is they're facilitating will also harm you, one way or the other. So if someone claims that, well, people can do whatever they want, nobody owes you anything, people have free will, they can will what they will, okay. If someone promotes people can will what they will, they're actually promoting lawlessness and promoting recklessness. So if anyone out there is a reprobate and they keep hearing that they have a right to will what they will, that reprobate is encouraged and give opportunity to escalate on the public and make victims. So if you're around someone who keeps talking this religious doctrine of free will, we can will what they will, they're facilitating reprobation. Such people will always end up with reprobates around them. And these reprobates are dangerous human beings. So if they have reprobates around them, these reprobates may notice you and bother you too. You need to think about that. You can disagree on superficial things. Some people like pizza more, others like pasta more. Some people prefer jelly on a peanut butter sandwich, others don't. You can disagree on things like that, but you can't disagree on the core foundations of life. Anytime people internally agree with anything that goes against the will of Heavenly Father, they are in violation, simple as that. And if they remain in violation, that continuous violation of theirs becomes their opportunity they're given to demons to act. Demons don't just go out there and act like that, because demons don't want to trigger intervention from the Heavenly Father. So evil spirits, they hide behind the darkness of the public. And I just think people don't have the right to be in error. They don't. Because them being in error harms both themselves and other people. But we live in the Western world with this idea that as long as people pay taxes and they follow the law, they obey the laws of the land, they can will what they will. Nobody, they own nobody anything, blah, blah, blah. The Western world require us the bare minimum and expect everything to go all right in the community. What the heck is that, Joe? Listen up. It's time for us believers to actually see what it is that we're dealing with as it is and peacefully process it and counter it. We should not be obsessed with dark secrets of worldly people. We should not be obsessed with crimes happening in the past. All that, absolutely not. We just need to admit there's a lot of imbalance on Earth now because of worldlings, and any of these imbalances is causing harm. We cannot rectify all imbalance on the Earth. That's not possible for us to do. All imbalance will permanently disappear when Christ comes back and puts eternal balance on the earth. Up until then, there's going to be imbalance here and there on the earth. But it doesn't mean we cannot counter those imbalances where we can. We should. Because if we don't, we now become partakers of the iniquity. And you cannot partake in iniquity and be freed from its iniquity at the same time. There are believers out there who think that they can participate in iniquity that's normalized violence at the same time have a peaceful, healthy existence. That's impossible. That is absolutely not possible at all. And here's another thing I want to explain to you. Sometimes the demonic activity that's harming you, let me say it like this. Jesus said that there are some types of problems that can only be cast out through fasting and prayer. Let me tell you, some of you, not all of you, but some of you, in the demonic activity that's been hindering you in your life, it has roots going deep back, very deep back. And it could be that iniquity of the public, it could be that so many people are involved in iniquity that you're actually fighting the whole, okay, the whole population now. Okay, let's see it like this. Imagine you have financial difficulty in your life over and over again. No matter what you do, you at some point outside of your control, you end up in financial difficulty again. And you're going to think, hold on a minute. Why am I always in financial difficulty like this? So you look around you at your relatives and you notice that all your relatives are financially stagnant. They're not poor, but they're stagnant. And you notice that, hold on a minute, anytime the people, even in your neighborhood, attempted to become more wealthy, it all crashed down quickly. So you think, okay, but what goes on over here now? And so now you realize, well, hold on a minute. Could it be the evil spirit behind this? So you begin to pray, you begin to fast and pray. And the more you begin to fast and pray, suddenly people from the past that haven't spoken to you in years suddenly begin to call you and think, what goes on over here? You begin to fast and pray, and suddenly you have a lot of these people block you on social media and don't want to talk to you anymore. You think to yourself, what goes on over here? So the more you fast and pray to come to the root of why you keep having financial difficulties, you begin to lose more people in your life. People begin to avoid you. But you don't connect the two together. You don't realize that the financial difficulties that are haunting you are caused by the presence of these people in your life. What you realize that all those financial difficulties, it was a result of demonic activity. Why? The population needs people to look down upon to have ease on the inside. So the population look for narcissistic supply. And the evil spirits which are invoked and triggered by the public's negativity, they now want to make sure the people get the relief they want. Because if the people collapse, a lot of them will realize we need to help the Father. So the evil spirits now had access towards you, not because of you, but evil spirits just had access towards you through other people that you were raised with. And evil spirits now began to afflict you financially. And because the people saw you over and over again in financial difficulty, they began to feel relieved on the inside. So now the people are in the cycle of relief seeking that demons want at your expense. People build their whole self-esteem based on them not being like you. So the moment you break through financially, a lot of people can take it as an offense because now they can't look down on you anymore and be relieved on the inside. Now they actually have to face themselves. So now you're going to have people turning on you. But before you even break through, you have to deal with the demonic activity of the demons. But what if you overcome demonic activity and actually you break through financially? These people are going to show up. They're going to be upset with you. And they're going to realize, well, hold on a minute. It's not just these people over here. It's almost nationwide. And that's what I'm telling you. Some of you, it's not just on the financial level, but a lot of you, you've been misdiagnosed in your situation. Oh, it's my mom, it's my dad, or maybe it's that witch in the neighborhood, or maybe it's just racism in the area, whatever. Or maybe I didn't work hard enough, or I could have done better. I mean, you're looking for so many answers in the wrong places. If you look for answers in the wrong place, you're going to get the wrong answers. For example, let's say you have a headache, let's say you have migraines, and you think the migraines are the result of you not eating properly. You can check your diet as 1,000 times. If the cause of your migraines are not related to your diet, you can look in your diet for till the day you die. I'm sorry to say, but you're not going to find the actual answer to why you have those migraines. You're looking for the answer in the wrong places, so you're going to get the wrong answers. And that's going on with a lot of believers, y'all. A lot of believers are looking for answers in all the wrong places. So the answers they get may be factual, but it may not be actually true. Let's say you have migraines. By the way, I'm not a medical doctor, okay? It's just a parable I'm giving to you. Let's say someone has, so let's say you have migraines now, afflicting you. And you believe it's because of your diet. Now, your diet has an effect on your overall physical health, of course. And if you have migraines and you change your diet, that will affect how you experience the migraines. If you eat healthier, your body's more resilient against the migraines. That's true. But it doesn't mean now that because you eat healthier now and you can cope better with the migraines, that this was your diet that caused the migraines. It could be you have an infection somewhere in your body, and infection is causing warning symptoms into your brain. Now, if it's an infection in your body, eventually you either have to undergo surgery or they call it treatment. You know what? For it to remove. But if you keep saying it's your diet and keep to work on your diet, I'm sorry, but the actual cause is never dealt with. And because the cause isn't dealt with, it will get worse and worse and worse. So let's say now you have an infection in your body somewhere, and this was causing your migraines. But you think it's your diet. Eventually, one day, the infection is so big, you have a full tumor right now. You see what I mean? When you misdiagnose your earthly situation and you don't check the actual spiritual causes that are involved, you will end up spinning around in circles, not getting anywhere in life. And that is what's been going on with many believers. They're spinning around, getting exhausted, getting dizzy, fainting, collapsing, becoming depressed, fatigued, and not getting anywhere because they've misdiagnosed the situation. Now, it may not be their fault they misdiagnosed the situation. It could be that's all they knew. It could be they were misled or lied to or took advantage of other people. But it doesn't change the fact that there's a misdiagnosis over there. That's why you need to fast and pray regularly. Now, fasting and prayer does not mean that magically, out of the blue, some solution falls out of the sky. That's not what we're talking about. It doesn't mean you can be on your lazy ass, sleeping all day long, expecting everything to work out. No, you need to do your natural activity. But you can't just do your natural activity, think that your natural activity itself is going to solve anything. You could do a lot of natural activity to come to find a solution and still not get anywhere. You need to be spiritually covered to uproot the spiritual cause of it while you do your natural activity. That's how it works. And even then, it's under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. You follow me? Because pagans, they do spiritual activity and take natural steps, but they rely on evil spirits, so they only have relief, no, not actual deliverance. So again, you need to be fasting and praying. Now, fasting and praying doesn't have to be 5, 6 hours a day. It can be like an hour each day in the morning, whatever. If you're going through a dark season in your life, fast and pray for longer. Make sure you eat properly, you hydrate yourself properly, so that you don't faint. Don't endanger your physical health. Just eat properly, drink proper water. Then you can fast for hours on that. Put other activities aside and go into the spiritual gym. Go into the Bible, go into the Word, pray, fast, decree, declare, train your spirit abilities, fellowship with fellow believers by your fasting and praying. When you do all of this, you end up uprooting whatever violence it is that's afflicting you. And that's how we move mountains. The mountains you spoke about were deep rooted, um, were deep rooted problems that we couldn't fix ourselves. If you think that you can fix everything in your life with a good attitude, I'm sorry, but you're delusional. If you think that nothing in life can be solved, you're equally delusional, but you're delusional in a cynical way. Things can be resolved in life. Solutions are possible. However, just know that some difficulties, some problems are deep rooted. You can't deal with them by yourself without endangering yourself. You need to go into fasting and prayer. It's because it's the power of God working through it will deal with it, not you. Is this clear to you all? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Just know you have to be willing to let go of any false history yourself holding on to. You have to be willing actually to face things as an adult, process things as an adult. We have to be like little children in the sense we're open, willing to be guided by the Heavenly Father, of course. In that sense, we're like children, open and realistic to be guided by the Heavenly Father. On the other hand, when it comes to actually process life, you need to be like an adult processing things so you can actually move on. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Thanks for being in this live stream. Keep on agreeing with Christ. Be at peace. I'll see you in the next live stream. Shalom.